Hello, everyone. Welcome to another show, Career Talk with IT professionals. And today we have a lead developer, right? But before we continue, I'd like to show you some stats of our viewers. So, 71% of you are not subscribed. You're watching but not subscribed. But if you do like our content and you want us to continue, please consider hitting that subscribe and notification bell button down below. All right. So for our guest today is Sir Matt Lebrun. Sir Matt, can you say hi to our audience?
Hi guys, hi everyone.
All right. So Sir Matt, let's go right into it. What is a lead developer?
Right. Yeah, as a lead developer, medyo thin line siya in terms of being a technical lead. And also, as what's a part, um, I see it as a middle point, okay,
Middle
of
point. Okay.
a middle point of you interfacing with the rest of the development team and the upper management. So you have to basically manage and direct yung technical day-to-day work, and at the same time being able to communicate that to the upper management. So
Right.
yeah.
I see. And since you did mention already about management, how many developers are typically under a lead developer?
In my case, the company that I work for, where I am a lead developer, it's a very small company right now, so it's just one team. So, and with a few people, so I have two people under me right now. So yeah.
Right.
So
Mm-mm.
yeah.
And how would you describe your style, no? Being a manager of these two people?
Yeah, so I suppose it's much easier in a sense kasi well, dalawa lang naman sila
Mm-mm.
for the most part. At least for now. More onto that later. Pero um, yeah, I mean my management style. I still do code myself. So,
Mm-mm.
but I'm more of a high level guy, generally speaking.
Mm-hmm.
But I do tend to be very detailed in my own way of executing the work, and also simulating different scenarios in creating a solution. So, in my end, when I lead them, or rather when I like my people to do the same, basically. So in my case, I just usually provide them a high level expectation and then strategies, and then for the most part, I trust them to navigate the details. So I feel like this allows them, kasi personally speaking, ako gusto ko same way din
Mm-hmm.
when I'm being led, is to have enough room for exploration and learning. And also, I think it's the best way for your people to have a sense of ownership
Mm-mm.
in their work.
Right.
Yeah, and also I try as much as possible to remove all potential and current blockers nila if ever. Either myself directly, or maybe it's a part of a process.
Um, since you are the lead for these developers, in terms of value, additional value, or additional roles, does the code review fall under you as a team lead? Is that your responsibility? Yung LGTM, no, looks good to me. Um,
Yeah,
yeah. Mm-mm.
yeah.
And
So
and
you're
how
right.
do you
You're
do
right.
that?
You're
No,
right.
how do you do that? How do you make sure that they are optimized and their code are well established?
Hmm. Um, well, in my case, it could be like a mix of ano, no. You need to employ, I suppose, a mix of automated tools and also yung manual checks mo nga rin. I mean, automated tools such as just making sure that nothing gets in with a syntax error, or nothing gets in parang doesn't follow a certain coding standard. So with Python in particular, in my work, May mga automated tools naman si Python to ensure that everything follows the standard PEP 8 guidelines. So yun yung standard ng Python development. So as long as it passes PEP 8 and it doesn't have any syntax errors, that passes the first layer. And then second layer would be to scrutinize yung actual implementation of solution. So this one, this is more of a fluid thing. Since it's a very small team, it's very easy to just ping me na parang, hey, Matt, okay ba tong ganitong approach for this particular thing? Or maybe just ensure, in my case, I usually just make sure that everyone creates code that is testable.
Testable,
So,
okay.
yeah,
So,
so sobrang big deal sa akin yung part na yun kasi when I got into the company, it was an adapted code base. So I didn't start the project myself. So at some point, it got to a point that it's really hard to figure out. And there's a lot of bugs, yung mga ganyan. So I think at a certain point, I introduced yung making sure that moving forward, we create tests for all. And then if you happen to fix or add a feature dun sa isang area na sa isang area ng code or functionality, make sure na i-split mo na siya. Kung hindi siya testable before, make it testable and then write a test for it. Parang yun yung mga typical process ko for doing code reviews and code quality checks.
Right. And since you already touched about a little bit about this, now you code in Python. Whose responsibility is it making the test scripts? Do you make the test scripts, or when they? In terms of but you cannot audit your own work, right? So, is there a delineation by who should make the test scripts versus the actual code?
Good question. Although in my case, I like to keep it simple, I suppose. Parang sa akin, yung source of truth na natin, basically between me and my team is, as long as the ticket, when you create a test kasi, you write a test that proves that your solution or your code meets the exit criteria na tinatawag dun sa tasks, diba? Dun sa tasks in particular. So sa ticket mismo. So for example, may feature, this particular feature ticket has 3 points that you need to meet. So your test should be able to prove those 3 things na meet na nga nung code mo. So I guess in that case, I'm already, my answer would be, you also write your own test. Okay. But then I will check it. If I run the test, doon ko makikita kung na-meet nga naman ba nung test mo yung exit criteria ng ticket. In my case then, when I do, obviously wala na mag-check sa akin kundi sarili ko lang din. So that's where another QA person pa rin naman at the end. So bukod sa mga automated tests na kine-create namin na ganyan, we still have another person to do manual QA pa rin at the end. So this person naman makes sure that from a user experience perspective, he tries to mess things up for us. So pag may mga certain scenarios na hindi na cover ng test cases mo, makikita naman ng QA, parang ganyan.
Right. So I guess that answers the question of how you guys deal with the unexpected by putting a layer of automated, and then at the final end, there's still a QA. Is there anything more on that end, or that basically sums up how you guys deal with unexpected results?
I suppose you could also add then yung idea na just make sure when you create builds, there's always a very easy process of reverting in case something really else goes wrong. So that usually happens. Parang minsan kahit na QA na parang okay, you trust your people, di ba? Parang at that very instance, okay talaga lahat. Pero sometimes when you deploy that build, something else really just comes out, di ba? Parang unexpectedly, meron pa rin pumapasok sa butas. So, as another layer is when you create your builds, make sure that you can easily revert back to a previous version.
Right,
so
right. Or
yeah,
dapat
worst case scenario,
reversible. Oo,
yeah,
revert.
yeah,
And sir, for our benefit of our audience, no, how do you make it reversible? Ano yung tools that you use to, are you using like artifacts, Git, container, para lang for our audience benefit?
Sure. Well, for the most part, well, yung setup kasi namin, we run on, we use GCP, pero it's mainly on Kubernetes.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, it's just a matter of building a particular image. So, kung familiar kayo with containers and Docker images, so parang yun lang yung idea. Parang each build is its own Docker image. So, it's now, I suppose it's just a matter of switching the
Back
image
to the original
being
image.
used.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So, yun yung one of the advantages of being in a containerized, no? Pwede yun.
Yeah. Yeah, and another key point din doon, it's people might think na pwede naman ako mag-git checkout na lang doon sa prod ng previous version ng build, di ba? So
yeah, that's true. That's true.
that's also one way of doing it. I mean, fully legitimate. Pero a disadvantage of that is usually you at least in my experience then with my previous work na ganun yung setup was that minsan may mga library upgrades na rin nangyayari sa server mismo. So, switching a different version usually isn't enough. So, it's more like you always need to have a snapshot of the state of the machine. So, that's the advantage of having everything on an image. Parang ganyan.
Yeah, so yung mga dependencies, no, are packed in a container. You're right.
Yeah, exactly.
And just since you already touched a little bit now about your journey, let's go back a little bit and ask, how was your entire journey, let's say from college or even picking the degree, no, up to present?
Okay. Yeah, since sinend mo sa akin yung question, I actually took a lot of highlights kasi medyo tagal na para i-recall pa yung ano.
Just the highlights, but if you want, we have time naman. We have time.
Yeah, I mean, was I took Bachelor of Science in Information Technology. Magsasabi pa ba akong date? Parang back in I graduated 2007. Okay. So, but during my college years, it's been a very interesting journey for me. Back in college, because I like challenging myself so during college, I actually also worked as a student assistant, both para dun sa ICT department and the dean's office. So pero more interesting kasi yung ICT department student assistant days ko. That was when I first got exposed to sort of like working.
Parang OJT, no? Effect.
Parang OJT effect na siya. Because I was part of a team who was developing this e-learning platform for mechanical engineers. Parang ganyan yung idea. So, hindi naman siya sobrang hardcore. I mean, looking back, hindi naman siya sobrang hardcore. Pero it's still an interesting time back in when you were still like 17, parang ganyan. So that was a very interesting experience for me. And then I was also working for the dean's office then at that time. So part yun ng parang scholarship grant ko rin. Yeah, and then I was also I was also president of the IT society rin back then.
Wow,
college.
Very active college life.
Yeah, and I was also level representative naman for the student council also at that time. Ano pa ba yung mga highlights ko nun? First time ko rin mag-work sa industry when I was in college. I think it was maybe in my third year. I tried working in the call center. Medyo kasikatan ng call center noong time na yun. And I was just looking for ways to have extra money. Kasi syempre, malit lang allowance ko nun eh. So also to help out my mom, I worked in the call center. I was night shift in college. And then yung first subject ko, right after. So I worked from 2 a.m. to 9 a.m. Tapos yung 9 a.m. work, 9 a.m. class ko, diretso na ako school noon after. So,
wow.
So, tapos yung una kong subject pa noon, discrete math agad. So, antok-antok ka pa, magma-math ka pa. So, parang lutang talaga ako noon. I won't advise it to young people doing the things that I did kasi I think doon ko na-develop yung hyperacidity ko kasi nagre-Red Bull at nagkakape ako just to stay alive. But, you're 19, you feel like you're immortal.
Yes,
so, yes. You just like drink and take in everything. Pero yun, that was a fun experience. I actually learned a lot and I think that was in college. And then at work, usual progression with the career. I think I've had already like 6 or 9 jobs until up to this point. Medyo marami akong jumps din ng work, pero it was different industries then. So I worked for the telco, I worked for services company then. I started doing a lot of ERP back from before, enterprise resource planning software. And then that's when I jumped to the telco. I worked for Smart at that time. And then after nun, dun yung, around the time when I was at Smart, yung boom ng startup craze dito sa bansa natin. And then also yung start din nung mga community events, at least in my case, apparently may mga mas older tech communities pa, pero at least around that time, that was when I attended the first PyCon or Python conference in the
Philippines.
Yeah. So that was organized by a local startup din at that time. So dun nabuhayan ako na parang to, I don't know, pursue yung startup life, or at least work for one. So I think at that time I quit my comfortable work at the corporates, and then I started looking for startup companies, and then that thing led to another, and then I became a volunteer now for the Python Philippines, and then I was part of the group who incorporated it. And then, diretso na siya up to this point. Yeah.
And if I may ask, sir, so for our audience, is that you mentioned that you did jump from one IT industry to another. Is this an advice that you would say that they should try, or is it really or is it like stick to one company na long tenure wise, no? Is it like what is a good tenure in a IT company?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. I might have like a different
you can only speak from your experience, no?
Yeah, so I'm
speaking
myself here. Yeah. So to anyone listening, take this with a grain of salt. Pero my idea has always been to work for yourself, in a certain sense. Kasi as long, because what I realized is working with a company, it's a transactional thing. Okay, so you provide a service for the company gives you a compensation. So it's a very defined relationship in that sense.
Yes.
And then so in my case, although syempre parang asan yung lines of loyalty and whatever, pero idea kasi your loyalty to the company is in the sense that you perform in the best of your abilities. If you still lack the ability, you perform and stay to the company to a point that you are actually contributing more than you're getting from the company. So yun naman yung philosophy ko dun. So in my case, ganun yung sa akin. Parang I leave the company to a point where I feel like I've already started contributing more than I am getting. Kasi usually pag bago ka talaga, especially when you're fresh grad, you're actually getting more than you're contributing, especially in your first year. Parang halos wala ka pa talagang alam sa ginagawa mo talaga. So at least stay to a certain point that you feel like you're contributing more. And then once you feel that you need to expand, yung sa case ko naman kasi, my experience with working in different industries allowed me to have a good vantage point of different areas of software development and also environments. Kasi parang you're not just working in front of the computer all day, you're also interacting with different types of people. So apparently there are different types of people depending on the industry. So it allowed me to have a good vantage point of how software solves problems in different industries and also dealing with different types of people.
Right. No, I like what you said, and I remember a quote. I can't tell who, but what you're saying to me is basically make sure that when you more or less when you leave the company, it's in a better state than when you joined it. No, parang
Yeah.
very parang that's a life quote, but also applicable apparently in tech. No?
Yeah.
In this sense, would you say what you mentioned that's a form of success, or how do you define success for you?
Well, for me, success would be I think just being comfortable with kung mapapansin mo with the things that I've mentioned from before, I think it's really more about being comfortable with dealing with the unknown. So a lot of times you're always faced with things that are new to you and things that you probably don't know about, and just be comfortable with that, because that's what life is mostly all about, especially when you're starting out. And also, huwag ka matakot to do the hard things. Actually, seek the hard thing. So I think those are, I suppose, two points now. So be comfortable with the unknown and seek to do the hard things.
That's interesting, no? Speaking about hard things, is there anything right now that you're passionate about in terms of being on these uncomfortable and
unknowns and
yes,
exactly.
yes. What are you pursuing at the moment?
Gandang follow-up question yan.
Yes.
I suppose from a career standpoint, so I've mostly been I've been a very strong individual contributor, I'd say, for the most part. Although I've been in positions of being a technical lead, pero I feel like I've only really embraced yung parang management aspect ng role na yun only over the last 3 years. Actually, when I joined the company that I'm in right now. So I feel like that was, at least from my perspective, that was when the time I officially adopted the mindset that I am now also responsible for the driving output from other people. Parang ganyan. For the most part kasi parang as long as I'm able to do my job well, perhaps help other people a bit, ganyan, in the team. Pero now it's really more just making sure that everyone is able to grow and succeed in their own domains then. So I think, yeah, I mean, yun yung isang unknown para sa akin at that I tried exploring a lot. Also, same with as a leader din sa Python.PH, no? So, in-apply ko rin siya doon, yung same idea, like really embracing what a president of the organization is like, in the sense that you should be the one empowering yung team mo instead of basically empowering them to really own up to their own responsibilities then. So yun yung sa work, sa career side. And then on other things, may pinagkakageekyhan ako ngayon kasi. So I'm teaching myself so sobrang unknown. So I'm teaching myself electronics right now. For a hobby.
What kind of electronics are you talking about? Like IoT, or are you talking about circuit boards? Anong klaseng?
Well, yeah, I mean, initially I just wanted to play around with kits ng Arduino and Raspberry Pi, but that actually led towards me try to understand really yung creating my own circuit boards, and wala pa ako doon sa point na yun. I'm still, and I only started like a few weeks ago in this. Although nung high school kasi parang meron kami minor subject about this when I was in high school. Pero now I'm trying to reliving that passion. And so yun, as in, yeah, circuit boards, hopefully creating my own customizations ng with the IoT device that we have available na, Arduinos or Raspberry Pi. I also recently got a 3D printer. So wow. I'm hoping to get create also my own designs ganyan at some point. Pero mukhang kailangan ko matuto ng CAD for that eh. So I'm also going to be exploring that. Kahit sa ngayon lang naman I'm just pulling things from the internet to print. Pero kahit yun, parang yung pag-setup pa lang ng 3D printer and making, napaka-finicky niyang device eh. So konting changes lang, konting filament, make sure na pantay yung printing area, things like that changes every single print. So, hindi pa siya user-friendly, I'd say. Pero it's one of the things why I like it, because it's hard. So,
well, if ever maybe I also have some designs, pwede pa-print pala. Pa-print, parang college na, pa-print.
Nakita ko nga may plant ka dyan sa likod eh. May mga nakikita akong items sa plant ka ba yan?
It's an aquarium actually, yeah.
Oh, aquarium. Oh, okay. Yeah, so may mga nakikita lang ako mga designs sa parang mga mini greenhouses na 3D printed, self-watering planters, mga ganyan. So actually, ang excuse ko kay Mickey is pag-print ko siya ng mga self-watering planters at mga custom tools niya para lang ma-justify yung kalokohang binili ko. Pero anyway, okay din naman sa kanya. Yeah, it's just a fun thing.
Yes, a fun thing. Good na you are, as you can, I can see for our audience na the passion of IT still resonates with you, with us. Even after X years. No? Yes.
Oh yeah, yung curiosity should always be alive. Yeah, always find something for you na always find that something that really like sparks yung imagination mo.
And moving on to our next question is, you did mention that you are empowering your team and even the volunteers. How do you empower them, or how do you feel about remote working, or how has that helped the situation or not helped the situation? Empowerment through remote working.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, honestly, medyo mahirap, pero especially in the beginning, early last year when the lockdowns have been imposed. So prior to that, we had a good groove already about at least meeting once a month sa Python group with my team sa company naman. Just being there every day, diba? Daily interactions. So nung umpisa, everyone really had a hard time like transitioning towards working from home. But now I think in our case, we just really had to wait it out. I mean, for Python.PH, we just gave everyone like time, just figure things out. I mean, for a certain period. Sa work naman, ganun din. Parang we tried still doing the same thing that we did. And then at some point, you had to start thinking about creating or simulating the interactions na na-miss out ninyo when you were facing face-to-face. So I think at a certain time last year, towards the third quarter, I think, I started doing a lot of daily calls with my team at work. Pero not to discuss about any like status updates, yung mga ganyan. Hindi. After work, we just join in a call for board games. Parang araw-araw yun. And then we have like yung once a week na dev meeting lang, parang ganyan. And then the rest, everyone should just be active in the chat group, in the sense na yung mga private messages, unless sobrang private or personal siya, dun sa common dev group chat namin mo siya i-communicate kahit na you're just talking to the one person. Just to have that sense na parang, alam mo yun, parang, okay, may ka-work pa pala akong ngayong araw na to. Alam mo yun, kasi parang, okay, parang the whole day, nothing, basta alam mo lang, nagko-code ka, may ticket ka tinatapos, parang,
Right,
so, and it also helps na may extrovert akong teammate. So, I suppose that, in a way, siya nahihirapan siya kasi nami-miss niya yung human interactions. Ako, okay lang. Being the introvert me. Pero, it's great kasi parang she's the one na, parang madaldal doon sa chat group. So, minsan yung mga little things lang, minsan, parang banters lang, ganyan. So, you have those. For the Python group, we started doing these coaching sessions that we have. So lately, kasi yung part naman na yun is yung coaching session. What we realized over the years, even if you assign a person to a particular role, hindi pa rin nila gagawin. Or at least they still have these questions or nagging feelings about really owning a particular role, especially in a volunteer group. Kasi since parang, pwede ko ba itong gawin? Or may call, meron ba akong say? How do I represent the org? Ganyan. Kasi they always try to rely it back to us kasi parang feeling nila, parang since kayo yung founders and we were just following you guys, kayo bahala sa mga malalaking desisyon. Pero ang totoo, kasi dapat ma-realize nila na since I'm talking about yung leadership ng Python group.
Yes.
Since you've been voted already as a board of trustee and have this directorship role, you actually have to make decisions based dun sa role mo. So that's what the coaching session is for. It's to actually empower them to embrace and make decisions based sa roles nila. So this coaching session now becomes more of an accountability ship between me and them, parang ganyan. So ako bahala doon sa boys, si Mickey doon sa girls. Apparently 50-50 na pala kami sa leadership team namin sa Python.PH. So 50% girls, 50% boys. So I'm the one coaching the guys and then Mickey the girls naman.
Great.
So yun. And then in-apply ko rin siya sa work. So yung teammates ko, I also do it with them, the coaching accountability thing. Sa case naman nila, it's more of how do I get them to the next level ng career progression na gusto nila within the company.
And this is now my last question, which is very related to how you ended the answer a while ago, which is how to be you po. What's your coaching session now for our audience? What's your advice for them? As if you're coaching them right now at the moment. How would you do? What would you say and how would you do it?
Okay. Advice ko is how to be me. You can't.
Okay.
Kidding aside, I'd rather
You be you,
you to
parang ganun.
be you to be you, yeah. Because here's how I would describe my own life journey. So I've always felt that my personal journey has always been a journey inwards. It's always been about self-discovery
Mhm.
and also realizing yung full human potential ko. Always in the hopes of helping others. So yung concept na yun.
Mhm.
So I'd say it's a very personal journey. So I'd urge you to take on a personal journey towards discovering your full potential then.
If I may ask those, they might ask, oh, how do I start discovering? Kasi right now I'm so confused. I'm maybe going into a job market that's ayaw ko naman sabihin bleak, no? Pero,
Hmm.
how do you start that self journey for at least for those who have doubts on that self journey?
Yeah, that's a very good advice. Yeah, I mean, left and right, I've been hearing, especially with my friends, the volunteers, and everyone. No, parang losing jobs or getting pay cuts. It's a very turbulent time right now. I mean, stock market natin taas baba rin, parang
Mhm.
roller coaster. Um, what really okay? So in an environment where there is so much uncertainty, the only thing that you can be certain about is yung sarili mo. So, um, uh, ang idea is for you to uh, strengthen yung value na feeling mong mabibigay mo para sa ibang tao. So, I mean, this is something na mahirap sagutin for everyone. So,
Yes,
everyone
yes.
will have different strengths and weaknesses. And typically, you want to play on your strength. This strength of yours becomes the value that you can provide to others. Like whether it's your education, whether it's a skill, an inherent skill, or or whatever advantage or strength that you can think about. So this becomes the value that you can give, and then strengthen that. So regardless gaano ka turbulent yung environment mo, you always have a value, inherent value that you can provide to others. Because that's how you can create stability within your life. Parang being able to be of help to other people. Because people are like that. They like helping each other out. Diba? Parang ganun yung idea. And there's always something that you can contribute to other organizations or other group of people. And then that becomes your
Mm-hmm.
own
Mm-hmm.
personal brand and personal value.
That's true.
So
That's true.
I suggest people to create uh, maybe go through a personal SWOT analysis. Kung hindi kayo familiar, try to look it up. Strengths,
Weakness.
weaknesses, opportunities, and threats
Yes.
analysis. So do it on your own for your own self.
Right. And I'm just gonna add now for our audience. I think just to add to this now, if you really have doubts on your self progress, what I want to say to you guys is everyone has their own pace. Here in the over the interviews, you'll notice very different stories, different backgrounds. Some are early, some are later, but you'll notice that they have their own timing, right? And so that's the first advice I would also like to add to this now. And the second one is, um, if again you're having a hard time discovering the value of yourself, you'll notice it's actually easier to ask other people, like why maybe your siblings like you, your parents like you, why you have friends. They actually can see your value much more apparent. So that's why you should always try to connect them. The sense of community, Python.PH, AWS user group, the sense of community helps you bring out the value in you. Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's a very
Any?
good advice,
Mm-mm.
pala, Rafi. Yeah.
Thank you, thank you. Any last shout outs before we close, no?
Um, yeah, kamukha pala nung kanina when we started. So Python PH has started doing the work from home a day in the life of a work from home Pythonista show. Um, w- uh, we're always looking for sponsors for the show. So if you're interested with sponsoring or helping us out as a community, yeah, reach out to us at info@python.ph. So if you're interested to help us out.
Link below. Then. So we'll put that
Ah,
in the
yeah.
description also.
Oh, okay, okay. Wow,
Right?
thank you. Sige, sige. So, yeah, just check out the link below for that.
Yes. Right, that's it, everyone. Thank you again for staying with us. And I hope you learned something today. And goodbye, everyone.
Bye, bye, everyone. Thanks, Rafi.
Thank you. And of course, if you like our show today, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe button, and the notification bell. Thank you, everyone.